Before we get started, I want to do what I like to do with Snapchat, and that is say hi to my audience. That's how I keep in touch with them. So I'm going to take a quick selfie style video if you guys don't mind waving to my audience. I'm going to send this to everybody. So. Hey everybody, I'm at Social Media Week. We're about to talk about Snapchat.
So Justin, could you just tell us a little bit about your brand? Because I pulled this quote from Justin's website. It looks like something from a meth lab, but it produces a cold brew that is better than any other on the market.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about cold brew first, just because that's what I really do. So I basically built a machine that makes a certain style of cold brew called Kyoto style. Actually, if you go into Dollop, a few doors down, they have a Kyoto style dripper, which looks like a large hourglass. And basically, that machine has like a lot of issues with it. Originally, I wanted to have one at home myself, but they're really expensive. That's one issue. They're like $400. And the coffee that it makes tastes really good, but I didn't have $400, so I started building my own. And I got some gear from a Science Surplus lab, and put it together for like $70. And I was just making coffee as a hobby, at home. I was working for Metropolis Coffee and getting free beans and just giving away the coffee that I made to my friends. And eventually, they started forcing me to take money in order to keep making it for them, because I was making it, and then I stopped. And then they're like, hey Justin, what do we have to pay you for you to keep bringing coffee? So at that point I realized I kind of had a business on my hand and started to scale the process from there. So built a larger version of that machine.
And you started early this year, right?
Yeah, so I started this business in January. I launched January 1. That was like a New Year's resolution for me.
Okay.
And I've been doing the brewing at home since 2013 just as a hobby.
Gotcha. And so at what point did you get on Snapchat? Why did you even think about the platform?
So like another show of hands, does anyone here follow Gary Vaynerchuk? Raise your hand if you follow. 2 people in here? Okay, so what I want you to do is after you follow me on Snapchat, so you go ahead and click that, search for Gary V-E-E, G-A-R-Y-V-E-E. If you listen to him, you don't have to listen to any other marketer, period. He used to do this thing called Wine Library TV. Like in 2006. Actually, I heard about him from my dad because he's a big fan of wine and got me hip to it. And that was just like his first venture into using YouTube and also SocialCam, which he was on, but using YouTube as a means to drive business to his wine store. So through listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, he said, Snapchat's where all the attention is. There's tons of engagement because you don't have a feed. So every other platform has a feed. And there's just tons of stuff going on, and most people are just kind of like doing this and not really absorbing anything until you see a picture or a video. Text, forget about it. Like no one even notices text. So at the cost of entry is a photo, and then video is king, right? For most platforms. Well, with Snapchat, you don't have to worry about that because when someone consumes your content, first of all, they intentionally click your profile to see your content, and then that's all they see until they decide to swipe and see something else. And that's just really cool. Like you get 100% of their engagement and their attention, and you also get to see who actually looked at it. So when you post a snap, you get just a really basic report for which people who follow you viewed your snap, and you can say, hey, this person's been viewing my snaps. Like I literally just talked to somebody a week ago and said, hey man, you've watched like nearly all of my snaps. I can't really say that about anyone else. And he's like, dude, I love them. Like, and we had a conversation about it. Like, he really appreciated it. He's like, yo, keep doing the coffee reviews. I love them. And I was like, I needed to hear that because I didn't know if the coffee reviews were actually like resonating with anyone. So, that's like huge.
Right. So,
not to mention the screenshot thing, which is if someone screenshots your snap thing, that's like a key indicator that you gave them value that they want to take with them. So,
how did you initially grow your following, starting out from 0 followers?
So I asked around. First thing I did was say, I put on Facebook and like Twitter. I was like, who should I follow on Snapchat? So just everyone that I know. And everyone posted their things. And I was like, oh great, cool. You guys could you follow me on Snapchat as well? Like just, soliciting people, like people I already know saying, hey, I'm going on Snapchat, could you follow me and recommend who should I follow? Like that kind of thing. For my coffee, I deliver it to people's homes. So basically I put it inside of a flexible pouch and then ship it to their house. And for every single order that I send, I handwrite a note. And I used to do thank you notes, like I would just go to Marshall's and buy just stacks of thank you notes and just write those, just cards, traditional cards. And I went and recently had some printed up with my Snap code on them. So I still write the same personalized thank you card but I put my Snap code on it. I put my other social handles, and it's a lot of my customers are not in like the younger demographic. They are in the older demographic, but this stuff ages up, and they keep seeing this yellow square, and they might be like, "What is that? What is that?" And then one day they're gonna actually put Snapchat on their phone, and they're gonna scan my Snap code, and then they're gonna be in my ecosystem. So, it's just like it's you kind of have to like build that awareness over time. You can't just expect people to just do what you want them to do. Sometimes you have to go and like just over deliver and do it in a way that doesn't bother them. So.
And when I talked to you earlier this week, you had a great insight about putting it on your business card and the connection it makes with the person.
Yeah. So actually, specifically what it is like, so you guys know there are different ways you can add people to Snapchat. So like, for example, let's say I want to be your Snapchat friend, right? And we whip out our phones and we're like, hey, let's be friends, right? So there are a couple different ways we can do it. You can do a add nearby. So add nearby is basically like anybody in the vicinity who's on Snapchat and is in add nearby, you can just add them and just do like a mass add, right? You can also do a search by username where you just type their username in and then they're like, is this the person you're looking for? You say yes. My favorite way to do it is for me to go, hey, let's be friends, right? You got your phone on you? You don't have your phone on you? What are you doing here? But okay, let's say you have your imaginary phone on you, right? So you pull out your phone, right? And you hold it out to me and then I scan it. And now we just work together to do something. And that builds a little bit of trust. If you really, I wouldn't recommend you just like try to go and overbuild trust with people, but if they hand you their phone and say, here you go, scan my Snap code, then you just collaborated, you just made a connection. So I like to always add people that way, where I'm scanning their code or they're scanning my code so we can work together to make it happen. And it's just like, at that point, you just like, I find it way easier to talk to people.
Yeah.
Once you have done that, as opposed to like, let's add nearby. All right, cool, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just different as opposed to let's do this and then we can talk about something else. So.
Okay, so a few tips for creating content about your business on Snapchat.
I mean, I'm the worst at that. Just like I'm sorry, just do another survey, but just by another show of hands. How many of you are like small business owners trying to use Snapchat for a business? Raise your hand.
Not really a small business.
Or just a business, like in general. You're trying to use it for your purposes, and then I'm assuming the rest of you are marketers trying to use it for clients. Okay, so because I'm trying to like gauge my answer based on like what would bring the most value. But what I could say is like, I can talk about my shortcomings. So I can talk about some of the things that I say, man, I need to get better at this because I think that's where the value is. So like intentionality, like basically knowing in the big scheme of things what you want to do with the customer or whoever is consuming your content, and how you're going to bring them there in the way that is going to allow them to engage easily. That's going to I hate to keep using a cliche term, but that's going to bring them value, right? So storyboards, right? Like you see that Snap sequence with Logan Paul from 2 years ago, which seems like forever as far as like, long, long ago in Snapchat history. And these are guys at the top of their game, essentially. He's working with a huge brand, right? And those snaps were boring. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like let's be real. Like in 2016, those were boring. They looked like they were not really well scripted, right? They just kind of like, hey, I got an idea, let's do this. All right, boom. We're gonna send this to 50 million people or whatever, how many million people are gonna look at this, right? And if you look at Snapchat now, it's like way, way more polished, and that's because people are storyboarding, they have way more intentionality. So I say, if you're gonna bring value to a client, you will have to help them organize their whole Snap flow, and then strategize that into how do we actually reach people on other platforms, because there's no discovery. One thing that I have noticed though, that they are slowly like rolling out a type of discovery. So like, for example, I get suggestions based on phone numbers. So if you have your client's phone numbers, don't do anything creepy with it, but you might want to just put their phone numbers in your phone so that maybe Snapchat recommends them as a friend. And if you feel like you have a strong enough relationship that you can reach out personally and say, hey, I'm adding you. And if they add you back, then you say, hey, that wasn't a violation. And if they don't, then you just leave them alone. But that might be one way to, get into a customer's kind of ecosystem through Snapchat like natively, as opposed to putting it somewhere else.
Right. All right. Well, thank you, Justin, for coming out. I appreciate it.